the demo that we have, like I said, we had an accident today and the nail got broken, so you guys get to see the additional demo of how we're gonna fix it with fiberglass. So first I will start with pushing back the cuticle, which we can do with pusher, or you can use an orange wood stick. Honestly, for a long time I was using pusher and was like, well, people who use orange wood stick simply don't have it, or, you know, that was just the impression the people gave me who were using it. But actually it is a very good tool because it's single use, right? You just use it once and then you throw it away or you give it to a client as a gift. It doesn't damage skin, so now I use it a lot. There are sometimes I still use pusher because, you know, there's certain types of cuticles where it's just not enough. But if you can, why not use it? This is really great tool. So now we have some leftovers of old product and even a little lifting. So we definitely need to file it off. If there was no lifting, we could leave it. But unfortunately, if we leave the lifting part, no good, because we will apply the product on top, the lifting will stay there, and we might end up with more lifting or even some greenies. Okay, now before we continue, now usually at this point I do shaping, natural nail shaping, but since it's broken, I am going to file off, or maybe even at this moment it would make sense to just cut it off carefully with the scissors, just this part, because the parts that are separated, well, we could fix it as the, you know, as the split, but it will not grow back together. And I recommend to never leave any sharp corners, no matter of what kind of service you're going to do. And also we need to, even if you don't want to make it shorter or to file in these areas, you need to just slightly touch it, because we need to remove the surface shine from these areas as well. So this is mostly for those kind of clients who are like, don't touch my natural nail, like, please, no, like, you cannot file it shorter, who are so desperate about keeping their natural nails even if they look like paper. There's obviously no way of saving them. Okay, so I filed off the remaining surface shine, mostly because I wanted to get rid of the product. And now let's start the manicure. So if you are doing also enhancements, let's say gel, acrylic, soft gel, like anything, you can do it before, you can do it after, or you can even divide it into two parts. So now, as I will get going, I will show you different ways. So what I do, I usually divide it into two parts if the client's cuticles are very thin or sensitive. For other clients, I do it before the enhancement, because after you clean the cuticle, you can get a little closer here with the product. So it makes sense to clean it first. So the first bead I will be using red abrasive marks, which means it is medium fine. The speed will be around 17,000 rotations per minute, forward mode. Forward means it's rotating clockwise to the right side. So when working, always hold the client's finger tight. And I will start, now let's imagine that this is the clock. We are going to start at about 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. It's up to you. And move in this direction. So the goal is to clean the spreading part of the cuticle, which is mostly underneath the skin. And you should not press on the nail plate, otherwise we will simply overfile it. And even though this is a soft bead, still if you press it like this on the nail, it will get overfiled like in a matter of seconds. So you need to push into the skin mostly. So you can't touch the nail plate one time without any pressure, because we need to clean it as well, remove the surface shine from this part, but that's it. Okay, you cannot press it too many times. So after you, I did it a couple times, I always clean the dust, because with the dust it's just not possible to see it. And let's go there again. Now, when you practice on yourself or volunteer, trusted volunteer, it is very important when you're just learning to understand if it feels hot, if it hurts or not. So I encourage you to always ask your clients to tell you, because there are some people who are like just silent for all the service even though they felt uncomfortable. So it's in our interests to know whether it hurts or not. So now I switch to the reverse mode, which is counterclockwise. It's rotating in the opposite direction. And now we need to start from 11 p.m. Right? So the last time we started from 1, this time it will be 11. So this is 12, okay, this is 3, and this is 11. So we start from 11 and work towards the right side. Basically, I'm doing the same, I'm just doing it in the opposite direction. When you work with electric file, do not forget it's better to have a dust collector, mask, glasses, protect your hair as well. There are special one-time use caps. Fortunately, I couldn't wear a mask for the webinar because we need to have microphones so you guys can hear me. But as you noticed, I'm wearing glasses and they also help me to save my eyes a little bit from the dust. Okay, so do not press on the nail plate once again, only into the skin. And that's it. So have you noticed that after this step, the cuticle looks a bit separated, right? It's not like glued, it's not attached to the skin as much, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So now after I did that, I do not change anything. It's still 17,000 rotation per minute. It's still reverse mode. And what I do, I turn the bit around, and I call this step, it's like opening the cuticle, even though it sounds weird, but basically we push it up, right? So now you see this white line. Now I will show you different angles so you can see better. Well, it's better to clean the dust not in the direction of the client, but this time I need to do this because otherwise we will push the cuticle back. Okay, so now if we look at this view, you see, so this white part is the dead skin. It's the cuticle, and everything around it, underneath, is not. So this is everything we need to leave, and only the white part is the one we need to get rid of. So there are different styles. There is also a technique where you take scissors or nippers at this point and simply cut it away, which is an option. But I personally prefer using electric file. So today there are many different ways. This one I'm showing you today will work for certain types. Like today we have very dry skin and standard cuticle. It's not too big, it's not too small, something in between. But it will work for these types of skin and cuticle. But for other skin types, you may need to use a different abrasive, different beads, or sometimes even different technique. So with this bead, I'm going to basically go like this all the way around and trim it. So the goal is to mostly touch only the white part. If you will do something like this, you see, stay for too long on the healthy skin, on the skin that's not dead, what we will do, we'll, create new cuts. You may also notice that this bit, it looks weird, and I know that's also weird to me because it's both blue and red, and I guess by doing this, manufacturer just wanted to stand out, just to show something different, because as I work it feels exactly just like blue. So I have 16,000 rotations per minute, and I'm working from left to right. So you see a little part of it is gone. So I do not hold it at one spot for a long time, as we don't want any cuts or overheating. And if you feel like you're working but the cuticle is not going away, that means two things or three. You probably picked the wrong abrasive. You need to get another one. You pick the wrong speed, or you're not pressing at all. Like, I mean, we have to apply a little pressure, not just work on the air, but we need to try to be focused and only touch the white part. So you see, we're almost done. So if you tried doing this, if you like almost cut it and did it for like 20 times at one spot and it's not working, clearly it's not gonna work. So just leave it and try a different approach, because if you will do it just too many times, we will end up with just overfiling the skin. Okay, so we still have some leftovers here. That's why I will switch to the softer sphere bead and larger one. This is actually red. It might look like black, right, in the camera, but that's because after I used a dry heat sterilizer, this color turned to black, not to red. I don't know why. I guess that was another paint at some factory, but it's red, so means it's softer than the previous one that I used, much softer. So, and it's bigger. So now before I work with it, I will just explain. I will use it all the way around, clean this dryness over here, and clean some small imperfections I didn't clean on my previous step. So this time I'm not switching the directions. I'm only working on the forward mode. We can also work right here to clean some cracks. So you probably noticed I'm working pretty fast. I'm not standing on one spot for a long time, because we will definitely get an overheat, especially when you work with bead like this that's pretty big. So in Russia we call this part polishing the cuticle, because after this step it's like, it just looks like a clean skin. So that's the goal. It depends on the skin. With some certain types it will be a little red still, but we're not supposed to do that, because sometimes you can trim too much cuticle away. It will not be bleeding, but still it will be all redness around. That's not our intentions, right? We want just a nice healthy nails, and our goal is to remove only this white dead part of the cuticle and not more than that. If you follow me for a while, you might see in my video Truth About Russian Manicure, where I actually critique many of the techniques that are done in Russia, because some people really tend to over trim or overfile cuticles just for the sake of applying the gel closer under the cuticle. Well, I don't see any reasons for that. I think our goal is to make our nails beautiful while keeping them healthy. Now let's carefully remove the remaining parts of the shiny spots from the nail. I was explaining, yeah, so it takes a while, but it's pretty fast. So basically we had 4 steps. First 2 with the flame bead, then we used the small sphere bead, and then we used the big one. So now let me show you all the beads we use, particularly for this client. Okay, so like I said, this is one of the ways to do dry manicure. There are many other out there. And now we're going to fix the broken nail and to do the color application. Now let's fix our nail. Today I will show you how to fix it with fiberglass strands, because those are very good stuff for fixing this. Okay, so they come in a different looks. I have this just long thread that we divided with gel, so it will be more suitable for use. But if we need just a tiny bit only to fix the nail, that's like 10 times more than we need. We are going to use, first will be always dehydrator. All of the nail plate. Now clean the brush underneath. Underneath, actually, it's better to use the special wipe. And some dehydrators also come in a different packages, so now we can clean it. Because actually the nails are what is the dirtiest part of the nail. Where do you think? Of course it's under the nail, right? That's where all the dirt goes. So that's why we need to clean there as well, to provide it better adhesion, because we will be sealing the free edge and so on, so we need it to adhere. And then I will apply non-acid primer. Usually I apply it only on the free edge if it will be just gel overlay, but since today we will be using fiberglass, I will apply it like this. I only skip the area near the cuticle. And after that I will apply a thin layer of base coat. Today I will be using the one by Cupa, but you can use any sock-off base coat that you like. The layer should be very thin, like thinner than you apply the color. Most gel base coats, well, some of them have a tiny brush, which is very good for us because it will force you to apply it thin. Well, I'm applying close to the cuticle, but not under the cuticle. Okay, and now cure for 30 seconds. I will be using the same base coat, but before I do that, let's do all the prep. So I will roll this fiberglass, and since we need to add only a small part, I will cut in advance a little bit. Okay, so my scissors are not as sharp anymore. So I'm using the black napkins so you guys can see and I can see anything. Because with these things it's very tricky, they're so small. I apply base coat this time only on the free edge. So we will be fixing only this broken part and maybe this corner a little bit. Okay, like I said, we just pretend that this is the client who is ready for anything, but just don't let us touch your natural nail. Okay, so I use tweezers to take some fiberglass and just apply it first. Do not worry if they don't come perfectly even at this point yet. And then with the orange wood stick we can move them a little bit so they will feel only the areas that we need. So besides fixing the broken parts of the natural nails, we can also use it for actual sculpting. I will share this technique soon as well. Well, not tonight, but soon. Okay, so now let's just pretend if we have filled everything we were intending to. Looks like it. If you have some extra hair strands hanging, it's better to get rid of them now. Well, I think it's fine. Now let's cure it for another 30 seconds. And put these small parts away so they will not be everywhere. Well, actually this remaining part, do not throw it away. We still can use this part for fixing so many other broken and lost nails. So I just put it in my special fiberglass box. See, so I can use it later. Now let's cut the axis. Obviously that's not the 3D style we're about to do today. Maybe some other time. And let's just cut away the axis, the parts we don't need. So mostly we could use the shorter parts, right, where we're not intending to do them that long, but that will be just a disaster working with such small parts. That's why I always, you know, take more and then you just cut the axis. So we always throw away a bit, but I think it's fine. The product is not as expensive. So this is a cosmetic grade fiberglass. So you see it's still a little longer than the nail, but I will keep it so we can later file it. So now I apply base coat on them again. And it will fill the gaps. Clean if something went to the skin and cure. So now I will also show you how to create the structure of the nail, which I always, most times I do, unless my client has a just perfect nails already. Unfortunately now it's clear and clear. Maybe you can see it through the black background. So yeah, I think you can see, right, that the product already filled the area that we wanted, but since it's clear and I'm not 100% sure that we filled everything we were intending to, I will do it just one more time and freeze cure it for 10 seconds, you know, just so we not have any holes at the end. And after that, we can take the hand, turn it around, and apply a little bit on the other side. So I will clean all the excess product. So my brush will remain almost dry, like with a very tiny amount of the product. So you see I cleaned all the excess like this. So I have a little bit on my brush and now we turn it around. And wow, with such super short length, it's gonna be another challenge, but we'll try. We need to apply it underneath. And the last challenge will be to apply it so you guys can see it, because I cannot see much. Okay, now cure it, and you should hold the hand like this, so it will be cured. But actually we are using clear now, so for now it's fine to cure it either way. It just, if your base coat is very thin consistency, it might move a little bit. We need to build the structure of the nail. So if we take a look, it's all wavy and bumpy, it's overfiled somewhere, and most nails need a little bit of structure, so they will look more flawless, smooth, so we can easier apply the color. And some nails, for example, they're very flat. This one is actually, there's no natural apex here. You see, it's not just flat, it even have a dip here. So we are going to create it by ourselves. Just a little bit of apex, not much, because there's not much length. So what I'm doing is I apply a thin layer of base coat again on the entire nail. And actually, since, whoa, this nail is so bumpy, let's first feel this super bump. Okay, let me, yes, I think now you can see it. It's right here. There's the dip in the nail. So what I will do, I will take the drop, place it here. Unfortunately, I cannot hold it like this for a long time, because you see it starts flowing, because I have a layer of base coat underneath already. Now what I will do, I will simply stretch it in a different direction so it will fill this deep. You can also use this separate small brush, but I'm just too lazy, that's why I use the brush from the jar. Well, it's almost filled, at least the dip is not as big anymore. So we will freeze cure it. And then we are going to create the structure. That's enough. We don't need to fully cure the, that's a great thing when working with a clear base. You don't need to fully cure it all the time. Okay, so we have another dip, but it's not as big, and hopefully we will be able to feel it within one layer, but we'll see. Okay, I need to do it again to apply a thin layer of base coat on all nail. And you know why I'm doing this? Just imagine we have a pan, we're frying something, and we applied oil, let's say, vegetable oil on it. And then you take another drop of oil and apply it on the pan. So if you have oil there already, it will spread super fast, right, and become all smooth. But if you put a drop of the oil on a dry pan, it will just stay in this place. So that's why I always apply base coat first and then apply the structure, so it will flow and move around the nail, because I want the whole nail to be smooth, not only this drop to stay there. So now I take more product, because we're working with the thumb actually. Apply it right here near the cuticle and stretch. So we have some kind of like a drop shape here, and now I clean the brush and start spreading the product. So we already feel the dip on the right side, so we don't need much there. And I will apply on the left side, stretch it. So it's basically like working with a hard gel. The only difference is that we're working with a sock-off gel. It's more thin. Now we need to turn, well, you don't have to do this if you did it well from the beginning, but I just feel like I need to hold it like this for a little while so the apex will come back to its place. Okay, looks pretty good. Now let's cure it. This, I was trying to make the surface smooth so we can apply the color easily, but we still need to file the free edge because we have this additional part right here. Now let's take off the sticky layer, because most base coats have it. And I will just a little bit file this part. So remember, we sealed them from the bottom and from the top. So do not worry, you're not supposed to have any of these threads hanging or bothering you if you did a good job when sealing them. And now I will try to even it all with the rest of the nail that we had, because the goal here was like to make everything like this nail never even break. Right, and I think we actually did that. So you see, it looks thin, it looks natural. Nobody can tell that something was added there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now remember, we also added base coat underneath, so do not forget to clean it from there because it might be sticky. Now make sure you get rid of all the dust, and let's apply the color so we can have some final look. And I decided to use this Madame Glam 3D 5D cat eye polish, but it's better to have black background before you apply it. Now I'm applying black. So if you did a good job with the cuticle, it will be easier to apply the product. And you know, I get so many questions like, oh, I have troubles applying the color near the cuticle, it's always uneven. And most people think the problem is in the product or in themselves, like they're doing something, you know, in the wrong way. But most time it's just you didn't clean the cuticles. It's the spreading part of the cuticle and of the nail place that prevents you from applying it well. Oops. And this was definitely my error. So before curing, we definitely need to clean such things. And here we also need to seal it. So to seal, I need to clean the brush so it will be almost without any gel. So never seal it with a thick product because it might even change the shape of the nail. So when the sidewalls are too close, it might get tricky, especially with dark colors. So it is better to clean everything before curing because this is not a nail polish, right? It's a gel polish. Once you cure it, you cannot fix it anymore. Okay, now let's cure. Now let's do some fun. Let's add this 5D cat eye. I think one layer will be enough. You see, the color is not maybe too intense, but we are not doing just black without any enhancement. I mean, if it was only black, then I would definitely apply 2 coats. But for this one, I think 1 will be enough. For most cat eye colors, dark colors, black background will always make it look much better. So I strongly recommend you to always use this trick. Apply. There are many different things you can do with cat eye. First, I need to separate my magnets because they tend to glue to all metallic objects that I have, and I have plenty here on my table. So now I will work with 2 magnets. One will be here. Let's first check. Yeah, so we need to choose the sides that are actually connecting. So before they start work. So you see, some parts are connecting, some are not. So we need to choose those that are connecting, okay, like this, that are attracting to each other. And now we are going to work with both of them. So one will go from the cuticle and another one will go from the free edge. Oh yeah, and there it goes. So my goal is to leave the color mostly in the center. So now this line will be only in the center while the frame will be more like black. Okay, I also need to add a little color to seal. Okay, now let me maybe add a little bit with the stronger magnet. And you can always play, you can, choose the different distance from the magnets. Okay, now let's try this from this side. Yeah, unfortunately, in the lighting, you cannot really see much. And from my angle, it's actually brown now. Okay, and now let's move this line so it will not be just a line because that's boring, right? Okay, and now I will apply a little bit to seal the free edge because I think there are just the tiny margins there. So when sealing, I will not be using any magnet. And cure. Now I will seal it with the top coat, and sometimes with certain colors it might be like that. So you did a good job with the base coat. It's all perfect. Then you apply the color and the surface is a bit uneven. For example, like I have now on one side. So we can also add a little structure with the top coat. With this particular nail I can do this because it was very flat originally. If the nails are naturally have a deep curve, that will be too much. Actually, with some certain types of natural nails, we don't need to create this structure because we will make them look, like they're growing down. So you can add a tiny drop here in the center and stretch. So basically it was like with a base coat, the difference is the drop is way smaller. We cannot build too much here, but we can add a little bit so we will have this perfect, beautiful reflection of the color you might see on Instagram from from some Russian nail technicians. They always use this technique to get this beautiful final look. We need to add a tiny drop here, and we can use the separate brush, small brush. I just took the top coat from the jar, add it here. But remember, with top coat you can do a tiny retouch. If the nail is all bumpy and wavy, well, unfortunately we cannot fix much with that. You should have done this with the base coats and the color, so we can fix a tiny errors. Or sometimes you add some design and it becomes uneven with the French. You can use this technique, but not too much. Okay, if you will create a whole thick layer of top coat, first of all it will look weird because we have this clear layer, and also, you know, the nails will look thick. So looks like we're done here. So remember how damaged and exhausted this nail looked before the application. So now usually before applying the color, I tell my clients to go wash their hands. But since we didn't do this today, I will just clean it with the wipe. And then we can use the cuticle oil if we need. Well, I intentionally do not use it. I just want to show you how the cuticle work looks without it. That the cuticles still need to look clean, healthy and moisturized, because if it doesn't, well, there is something wrong. Well, it depends on the skin, of course. If it's like overly dry, it will still look dry, but I mean, it doesn't supposed to have any cuts or redness.